Hello.
Mommy.
Hi, Saransh. Sorry, I was on mute. Let's wait for 2 minutes for everyone to join, and then we'll start.
Sure, sure.
Fine. I see Rahul has joined in as well. So let me share my screen. I hope it should be visible now. Let me just see if anyone else is joining in. No, not yet. So we'll just continue from where we have left out yesterday. So we started with this pandas library, and that's what we are going to continue. So let's just quickly review what we saw yesterday. We saw that for data analysis, the very powerful library that we have as part of the pandas or Anaconda installation that we have done, although it can be installed separately as well, is the pandas library. It is imported with statements like import pandas. We're simply using an alias which is PD. That's kind of an industry standard. Everybody in the organizations, they usually prefer this kind of a terminology because it is communal. Then it is very easy for us to understand anyone else's code. So that's exactly what we are doing over here. So let's import the library pandas. Post which we saw that there is a function called read underscore CSV, and read underscore CSV, we saw a very basic kind of a definition where we had assumed that the CSV is properly formatted, so we loaded that CSV into a data, into a variable, and then we did commands like head, info, and then we also did commands like tail. Yeah, we also saw the variations in the commands head and tail where we can enter positive or negative values, and accordingly we can see the data. Now we'll continue from here, but we will first of all look into a property, and the property is that of this variable that we have created. This is a very important property that we need to look, and to do that we are going to look at the type of the variable, which is part of the pandas class. And part of pandas class, there is an object, there is a type of a variable that you can create, which is known as the data frame. So that's exactly what we are going to use here. When we are using pandas, we say that we are using data frame. So these two words are going to be used interchangeably. Okay, so pandas necessarily is going to mean that when we are playing with pandas, it is clear that we are playing with the data frames. Now, why is this an important thing to remember is because any distributed computing environment, including the one that we are using over here, although it is not really technically distributed in the sense that it's not really going to be into a clustered environment that we are going to run this kind of a setup, but then we can do that. And then there are other softwares, let's say like Apache Spark, and then there are statistical tools like R and SPSS, which also uses the concepts of the data frame. So this terminology is very common. You will find it in many other places as well. But for pandas, a data frame is just a set of data, and the same thing applies to any other statistical software as well, right? Now, let's continue with what we were doing. So now that we have this weather data in place, let's look into some very basic things that we can do with this data, and then we are going to look into what more we can do with the pandas data frame, right? So to make or to have some kind of a context in this, I'll be assuming that I have got this data weather.csv, which is actually the weather information for New York. And give me a moment. Okay, yeah. So we are going to take a use case. So our use case, and the reason why we are taking a use case is because it becomes easy if we take a use case. So in this case, the use case is as simple as this. I've got a data set, which is the New York weather data. It has merely 31 rows. I've already seen it has 31 rows here, and these are the columns which I have. Right now, yesterday we left at this point in time. We were supposed to look into this info output in a great depth. So let us look at this first, and then we are going to start with the analysis. So the case study that we are going to take over here, just to make things into context, is that we have got this weather data of New York City, and we are going to analyze this data to try and understand what is going on inside this data. This data is very small, but it is going to give us the intuition of what we are going to do essentially as a data scientist when we start off with any data set, and that we look into the data analysis part of it, right? So the first thing we look into is this info. Okay, info is a very important function, because in this info function, what we are looking at is the information of the data frame. The information is clear. It has total 11 columns, and there are 31 entries or 31 rows. Now, if you look at this part of the output, it clearly tells us a few things. It tells us the column name. It tells us how many not null objects are there. Okay, how many not null entries are there in that specific column. And then it is also telling us what is the data type of that column. Okay, so first of all, let's clear the data type thing. Anything that you see on the extreme right hand side is the data type here. So you can see object, int, float, and so on. Usually it will be falling into the categories of object, integer, floats, and dates. Why I say that is because any categorical variable or any date variable written as string, or any text variable, anything that has been recognized as a character variable by pandas while reading the data is going to be marked as object. So object does not mean that it is an object of some class. Please don't get that kind of a confusion. Object here simply means that it is either a categorical variable or a feature where we have string data. Now we will be looking into the types of the variables like continuous and categorical and ordinal and so on into greater depth when we look into statistics. But as of now, let's only consider just for the definition's sake that a categorical variable is a variable which has fixed set of values inside the DIME. So if I list the values of this column EST, it should have a specific list of values inside it. But is that the case over here? The answer is no. then why did pandas read this column as an object? Because essentially it's a date. I can clearly see it is something like date, month, or it is something like month, day, and year, because I can see that this second variable is changing like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? And then in the tail output as well, I see that the second variable has values like 30, 31. So it means this second part after this first forward slash is actually the date. The first part is the month, and the last part is the year. If that is the case, then this value of EST is actually Eastern Standard Time. So it is a date. Then why is it represented as a text? Is because in the data, that is how it was originally represented, or that is how pandas was actually able to read the data while reading the CSV file. So what I mean by reading the data is that that is how pandas has parsed the data while reading the data frame. So that's why it is known as an object. Okay, so the outcome of that finding is that we have a column EST, which is an object kind of a data type. An object data type clearly means it has some textual information. Maybe it does not have textual information, but it is read as a text field. Why I'm saying this is because you have to be very specific with the variables that you're going to play around here with. There is no assumption here because we are going to start with the data analysis part. In the data analysis part, there is really nothing called any assumptions. We are going to clearly go ahead, not with the intuitions or the assumptions, but by means of hypothesis. And hypothesis is something we are going to look in depth when we look into statistics. But as of now, you can understand that hypothesis is simply an understanding of the scenario. Okay, and then basis that hypothesis, basis that understanding is how we are going to do the data analysis, right? So that's exactly what is happening here. Basis the data that I've provided, so as to look into some hypothesis or some understanding, whether I'm going to agree with that understanding or whether I'm going to disagree with that understanding in due course of the data analysis. These are the way the variables are read by pandas, and then I'm going to play around. The next three variables are integer types. They are defined properly. I don't see any problem with variables like temperature and dew point and humidity being recognized as an integer. So is the case with sea level pressure in as well, because I can clearly see it is a floating point and hence it is recognized as float. Then I have visibility miles. It also has 31 not null columns. So I have total 31 rows, and these all columns, the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns, starting from EST until visibility miles, all the rows have the data. So in these columns, I don't have any missing values, and the data types are almost always captured properly. Other than EST, I'm going to do something with that EST. Let's see what I can do. Okay. But then the problem starts. Then I have a variable which is wind speed mph. It is known as float. Is that really float? The answer is yes. So the data type is correctly identified, no problem. But it is saying that there are 28 non-null entries, which means there are at least 3. Okay, there are exactly 3 rows where a wind speed mph is null, right? So that's one thing that this output is telling you. Okay, there is one other way to find that out, and we are going to look at that. Okay, there is a very intuitive way to find out the missing values. We are going to look at that function as well, but even from the info function, we can get this information. What happens with precipitation in and cloud cover variables? These are fine. I believe there is no problem in them because I have total 31 rows, right, in the data set. And it is clearly saying there are 31 not null objects, and hence I don't have any problem. But what is the case with this precipitation in thing? Precipitation in here, as you can see, is always marked as 0. Okay. In the tail output as well, I can see there is 0. I thought this was 0 looking at head. It looked like a 0, but if I look at the tail output, I can see that it also has a character field known as T. Now, this may be a problem. This may well be a problem because I'm not a weather expert here, but I'm going to find out what this precipitation in means when it comes to weather. This is one of the very, very important things that you need to remember, that when you are going to do any data analysis, please do remember that irrespective of how much you are technically strong or how much you are able to do the data analysis using the libraries like Pandas or NumPy, ultimately, if you do not understand the business, if you do not understand the context, then you will never be able to understand how this data was actually collected at the first place. Many a times as a data scientist, you will be required to collect this data by your own, because there will be situations where there won't be any separate data engineering team who is going to collect the data for you, at least for the initial stages. When your analysis is over and something which you would need to repeat from time to time, maybe at that point in time, some software engineer or some data engineer is going to come to your desk, and then he or she is going to help you create an entire data engineering or a data analysis pipeline, which is going to go into production. It is going to run into some environment, some kind of, let's say, servers, and then it is going to do that same analysis which you are doing in this notebook into a repetitive and a very software efficient way. But that's not what we are doing over here, right? We are doing the analysis. So to do analysis, I need to know my data, and to understand my data, I need to understand the domain. In this case, that is exactly where I am at fault, because I do not know weather. I am not really an expert when it comes to weather calculations. So I do not know what is precipitation in. So in that kind of a scenario, I'll usually go back to a business analyst or a data architect or a person who really understands this data. Or maybe I'll go back to its example given. I will go back to somebody who has generated this data for me, or I'll go back to that system or the metadata information from where I have extracted this information, right? But then the other thing that I can do, maybe this is a very common terminology. Let me see if there is any output into Google. So I can simply select this and try to figure out if there is any precipitation kind of thing which I can find from the internet, right? So what it is saying, let me go to Wikipedia. The Wikipedia definition is saying that a precipitation is any product of condensation of atmospheric water vapor that falls under gravity from clouds. This is something to do with the pressure, and something to do with the atmospheric pressure, and something to do with how much is the rainfall. Sometimes even the precipitation refers to rainfall as well. Okay, but what is there in this document that tells me about the possible values of the data? I am at least not able to find anything by looking at this kind of a document. So let me close this. Let me go back here and let me see if there is anything I can find from here. So I can clearly see it is represented as a percentage. If I change the date, I can see the precipitation percentage is actually changing. You see, for Saturday it is 10%. For the Monday it is also 10%. For Tuesday it is showing 20%, and so on. So I can assume, maybe in this case I don't know much about the data, but let me assume that it is going to be a percentage field. And of course a percentage field cannot have a text field, right? So there is some problem with this data, because if I go back to the tail output, as you can see, there is a t value here, and maybe this entry which is over here is either a 0 or a no. I don't know that. So somebody who has collected this data, maybe that person can be me as well. There is a grave mistake which has been done. This field should have had some kind of numeric values, and now it has a string, so I need to correct this. So this is something that I have to take care of. So let me do one thing. Let me try to write down these things. So can I open a notepad and try to write down these things? That is one thing that I can do. But then there is one more efficient way that I would like to tell you, is to write everything in or as part of this notebook itself. And why or how I'm going to do that is something like this. You will find this very, very interesting. In this drop down, you can see there are 4 options. You can explore these options at a later stage. Go ahead. This kind of a documentation is there onto the Anaconda or into the Jupyter website. But my favorite things are these two, code and markdown. I'll go to markdown and I'll say two hash signs. I'll say data analysis of New York weather. Okay, the moment I press Control Enter, or the moment I press Shift Enter, you see how this comes into a very nice kind of a text, and that I can also write again new text over here. This notebook is going to contain the data analysis which we would perform on available New York weather data for a certain month in this case, the month is January for the year 2016. How did I get this? I can clearly see that in the data, right? And the head, you can see it starting from the 1st of January, and at the tail of the data, it's ending with the 31st of January. Clearly, this data is for the year 2016 and for the month of Jan. So, purpose of this data analysis is, let's say, not to answer any specific questions or hypothesis, but merely to understand what the data tells us without any precognitions. Okay, so what I mean by that is I'm not going to assume anything about the data. I'm not going to ask any questions about it. I'm not going to question or I'm not going to challenge the way the data was processed either. I'm just going to look into the data and then I'm going to find. Okay, the other thing that I usually prefer doing is that whenever I'm creating a markdown cell like this, I can also input points like this, load data loading. Okay, so in this case it looks like this. Okay, and then inside each and every cell I would strongly recommend you put the comment. So here I am importing pandas library. Now see, if I continue doing this, you can imagine how good my notebook is going to look like, and hence that is exactly what I'm going to follow. I'm going to update this notebook with all my comments, all my text that I would like to put, and then I'm going to follow that kind of principle. I would strongly recommend that you should also follow the same. So here we will ingest or load the data into a variable or a data frame. Okay, so that's exactly what we are doing here. What are we doing? Let's look into the sample top rows of the data. Okay, but then is this part of the data loading section that I have created over here? I don't think so. I've already loaded the data, right? I don't need any other section here. So I'm going to write here to data understanding. Okay, basics, right? So basics of data understanding is where I'm going to look into now, and then I can also say that firstly, let's look into our data and see the sample values, the information about the data set, the anomalies which we can find in the data, and then plan to further correct it, and so on. Okay, so that's exactly what we are trying to do over here. What we are trying to do is essentially we are trying to look into, oh sorry, this has gone to something else here. Let me convert this to markdown. Okay, so what we are essentially trying to do, we are going to look into the data and we are going to find the anomalies in the data, or we are going to look into the information of the data. So that's what we are doing over here. Let me just add this point over here as well. Checking the information about the data set. Okay, then what I'm going to do is that here I'm going to check, let's also check the last 5 rows in the data. Okay, then I'm going to look into this. This is something I confirm if the data is actually loaded in the form of a data frame or not. So these are kind of comments that I would strongly recommend you to put in here so that you can understand what is exactly going on. And then at a later stage, I will also show you when I export this document as an HTML file, it will give a very beautiful output, and you will be able to clearly see that my analysis is ready to be shared with anybody in my business, in my organization, or in a team like the one that we have here, right? So, okay, then let's go ahead. What we were trying to discuss first of all is that we were looking into the variables. So let's write down our findings from the variables, and then we are going to look into the rest of the things, right? So maybe this info thing, I think this should go below the tail function after this. So let me just move this, okay, below this. And why I moved this is that so that I can put my comments over here. Initial comments on the data is as follows. Okay, what are my initial comments? My first comment is there are some columns in which we have missing data. This includes the wind speed in miles per hour column and the events column. We will have to find a way to either fix this problem or to remove this column altogether. Okay, we are going to discuss why or when we are going to remove the columns or when we are going to fix them. But let's first try to write down what our observations are. The second observation, EST, okay, Eastern Standard Time column actually contains a date, right, in MMDD YYYY format. Okay, but it is recognized as a string column which needs to be sorted so that we can do more flexible analysis or data wrangling with date type data. Okay, what do I mean by wrangling is something I am going to explain right now. Then let me look into the rest and let me see if there is any other thing. Yes, I forgot this column, right? This is what we were looking at. So I can write it here. The column precipitation in should a column this. So let me pose a question here. Shouldn't this column be a numeric one? We see an entry like T in the tail output or in the last five so no in the last 5 rows of the data sample. Okay, the reason why I removed that dot tail function kind of a comment is that I don't really want, or you should not also do that. I don't really want these comments or this text that I'm writing over here, which is kind of a script for me, like so it is like a script of a movie. I don't want to confuse my stakeholders or people who are going to look into this analysis should not be bombarded with technology. Okay, because technology is not what they're looking for. Technology is what you're simply using to solve that business problem. So they should not get overwhelmed with the fact that, okay, there was a dot tail function, okay, let me find out where it is, and so on and so forth. So let's not try to confuse them. To make their life easy, we are going to write comments which are very, very simple in nature and which are in plain and simple English so that people can understand the context of the problem rather than the context of the technicality. Technicality is not what we are going to concentrate here. Okay. So that's all. As of now, I think those are the only findings that I have, or the findings that we have seen over here. There are a few findings which we can do later on. As we progress, we are going to look into that. But let me quickly check this wind direction degrees. I think this is represented as an int 64 and it is really an integer. So I don't see any problem, at least from the first 5 and last 5 rows. So let's continue. So I'm going to write here, let's continue further with our data analysis. Okay, so because as you see, this is a very neat trick. I used I used a number, then I used a dot, and then I used a space. Automatically, these three are actually converted into very nicely formatted uh, uh, lines, right? So that's really good. Maybe you can also beautify this by adding this kind of a text over here and the initial comments on the data. Okay, so I can also do something like this so that I can bifurcate between the code output and a textual output. right? Now, until this time, I hope there are no questions. If you have any questions, please go ahead. Please write it into the chat window, or maybe you can unmute yourself and ask. But we will simply continue with the analysis and see what we can do with this data set. So the first most important thing we saw is .info. It gives us very, very good information. It also gives us the information about the memory usage of how much memory I am really going to need to look at this data. Okay, there is something that I should also tell you at this point in time. There are a couple of things that I should really tell you. The first thing is that whenever you are doing any analysis of this sort, okay, I think Sarangs is raising hand. Uh, S- uh, Sarangs, can you unmute yourself and ask the question?
Yes, Bhumik. So when you are saying, I am seeing that the fields have non-null return
Correct,
associated with them. So
correct.
does that mean that all the values are present for that field, or the field should not be null?
Exactly. That is a very good question, actually. That is what is going to result into our next function. The reason why this info output is actually confusing is because you see, let's take an example of this temperature column or the dew point column. It says dew point is a column, and then there is a number which is saying 31. Then it is saying non-null. Okay, so what that means is somebody really needs to cross check the number of entries which is here and then the number which is over here. So you have to by your eyes cross check this, and then you have to figure out, okay, the total number of rows is equal to 31, and dew point here also says 31 non-null. It means all the values in this column for all the rows does not have any missing value. So there is always a value present in that column. So this is one way to understand that. But I do understand that at the first time, or if someone else is looking at the analysis that you are going to share, it is going to create a confusion, because non-null can have a variety of different linguistic meanings for a different set of people, right? So to do that, we are going to look into a different function. But to answer your question, yes, if there are 31 total rows and I see here that wind speed miles per hour has 28 non-null float 64 values, it means only in 28 rows, I don't know in which rows they are, but in 28 rows only, this column has some value, everything else is missing or null or not available.
Okay, okay,
Okay,
okay.
okay,
Actually, I thought this non-null would represent, whether a columm has complete values or not. But now it's clear.
okay. But then there is another function that you have asked this question, and we were anyways going to look into that function. Let's look into that function. And that function is known as, let's specifically look into the count of missing values. Okay, I'm not going to look into the information of the data frame now. I'm going to look into the specific. Okay, I'm going to ask a very direct question now. What is the missing value in my data frame weather? Okay, in the weather data frame, I can call a function which is known as isNA. Okay, isNA is actually a Boolean function. IsNA returns a Boolean output. Boolean can either be true or false, right? Then what this function usually does, it goes to each and every column, irrespective of whether you have 5 columns or whether you are going to have 50 columns. It goes to each and every column, looks into all the values, all the rows of that column, and it is going to say true where the data is null, where the data is not available, where the data is empty, and it is going to say false if the data is not empty. So if the data is present, the output of this function is false. If the data is not present, the output of this function is true. Let me execute this and let me see what is happening over here. As you can see, it has returned me the entire data frame with all the columns, and then it is saying false, and then some places it is saying true, some places it is saying false. For some column, I can see it is always true. So there is some problem in that column. We are going to look into it. But this is really a very helpful function. But then there comes a problem. This is giving me true false kind of a thing. If I present this to somebody looking at my data analysis, that person will take at least 5 minutes to figure out how many missing values are there in each and every column. And imagine we have only what, 11 columns here, right? If I go back, you can see I have only 11 columns. What if I have a data set with 51 columns or 101 columns? I don't know. In that case, this kind of a matrix reading with true and false is going to be a very, very difficult task. Let me add another function known as sum. And this is a beautiful way to find out column by column how many missing values are there, right? How many missing values are there column by column, but it does not tell you how many total rows are there. Can we also quickly check the total number of rows which are there in the data? Okay, weather dot shape. Okay, if I do a weather dot shape, it's going to tell me there are 31 rows and 11 columns, and this is the output of is na dot sum. So a combination of two functions is used on top of the data frame, and it clearly tells me in a total in a data set which is loaded into this variable, there are 31 total rows, out of which there is this variable. I don't know who or how this data is really collected. This events field is actually unnecessary for me now because 22 of the values are actually missing. So what am I going to do with this field? If I am going to use this field to do any analysis, is that really going to help me? The answer is no, because majority of the data is missing. And that's where a very important point comes into picture. I'm going to write this clearly over here. Clearly, we have more than 25% missing data in the column events. Okay, hence this column is of no use for our data analysis and should be dropped. Okay, this is clearly a general guideline. Whenever you are doing any data analysis, how do you identify the columns which you don't need? There are many ways. One upfront way, if there is a column which has more than 25 to 30% of missing value in your data set, that column cannot add any value. You only have two options. Either you go back to that person or the process or the tool or the system or the front end which was used to generate this data and get this data. If you cannot get this data, and if you are already aware basis your business knowledge, basis your IT knowledge, basis your knowledge in the company, that this field is not going to give me any data, maybe by mistake I've selected it, or maybe based on the Q&A kind of things that you're going to do with the data engineers or with the business analyst, you come to know that usually this field will not have any data, maybe because this is being filled by some kind of a software system which is recording the weather data, and that, for that system this events field is actually a null field or an optional field. Then it is making no sense for me, or to you it should not make any sense for you if more than 25% of the data is missing. So that's where you get rid of this column. You don't use that column at all, as simple as it sounds. Irrespective of how important that column might be, you have to get rid of that column for this context. Now you might be wondering, in this way, agar mere paas, let's say I have 20 columns and there are 4 columns which has this kind of a problem that 25% or more of the data is missing. I simply drop the column without understanding the necessity or the criticality of the column. Is that a really nice thing to do? Now this question has two answers. One is a statistical way or a statistician's answer. The other one is a business person's answer. Being a data scientist, you need to consider both. You have no choice. You are neither a you are neither only a business person, nor are you only going to work as a statistician. You're going to work as both. You need to have the knowledge of both, right? So in this case, the statistician's view is the statisticians always works on numbers. If the statisticians don't have numbers, they have no life, they have no career, which means that this column, because it has more than 25% missing value, it has no value when it comes to the mind or the eyes of a statistician. So from that perspective, this should be dropped. Then from a business person's point of view, if events field is something which is really important for this business context or for the setup or for the weather calculations that I'm doing, there are multi-million ways in which I can try and solve the problem. I go back to the way I was collecting the data, or in the system from where I was collecting the data. Try to understand the design, try to improve the design, try to collect more data, try to collect the data in the right way, try to cross check if you have used any SQL query or any front end business intelligence tool to fetch this data, and the data was collected in a wrong way maybe, or maybe this data was manually entered by some human being and there was some data entry issue. There can be plethora of issues because of which this kind of a problem has occurred. So from a business perspective, please always go back to the source of this data, try to validate why am I not getting a data in this column. This is not a very light thing to take. Okay, you might be wondering, sirf just because there is only one column where there are missing values, I am going to spend so much of time to find out whether that column is really necessary. The answer is actually yes. You have to spend a lot of time. That is your job as a data scientist. You need to find the essence of each and every variable which is there in your data. You cannot say I have 50 variables. This is not possible for a human being to look into 50 variables. I'm really sorry. I'll concentrate my entire analysis on 5 variables. Yes, you can do that. There are statistical ways to choose the most important of 5 variables. We are going to look into them, but don't put down the hat of a business person from your head. Don't always drop the column. Drop the column if there are missing more than 25% data which is missing, but always go back to the source and clarify why it was missing. We will have to stop here because we don't have time left. So we will continue again on Monday. I'll share you the documents. Have a look and have a nice weekend. Thanks all. If you have any questions,